This is Novel Marketing.
I'm Thomas Umstadt Jr.
I'm James L. Rupart.
And this is the show for novelists who want to become best-selling authors.
In this episode, we're going to talk about something different than we usually do. The vast majority of the time, Thomas and I talk about how to become a best-selling author with your marketing. In this episode, we're going to talk about a little bit bigger picture, more than just the marketing. We're going to talk about a roadmap, a course that Thomas and I have actually designed that will not just help, but if you follow it, we absolutely guarantee it will make you a best-selling author.
We're focusing on the career. So normally we say you need to write a good book, and the most important thing about marketing is to have a good book, and we never really talk about how to do that. And we realize that kind of throwing people out to the wolves like that may not be the best idea, because if you have a good book or a bad book, good marketing just helps it fail faster. So we've created basically a path of 5 years to take you from zero to best-selling author. And you may be like, 5 years.
5 years.
But here's the reality, and that is there are no shortcuts. If you talk to most authors, it was at least 5 years. Most of them were 10 years to go and become a best-selling author. Now, for most of them, the first 5 years was just making mistake after mistake and learning the hard way.
Exactly.
You know, what if there were a way to learn from someone else's mistakes and learn the easy way and cut out those first 5 awkward years of the publishing journey?
Yeah, and so we have worked with hundreds of authors over the years, and between Thomas and I, and again, this is their frustration, is how do I do this? And we have to give a shout out to Dan Foley, a longtime listener of the podcast. He dropped us a note and basically said, wow, I really have just this general vague idea on how to become a best-selling novelist. Is there anything out there that can give me a very detailed, specific, not like do this in year one, but quarter by quarter that I can follow to become a best-selling novelist? And Thomas was the one that said, Jim, there's nothing out there. We have to create this course.
Yeah, at first this was going to be an episode of a 5-year plan to answer Dan's question. And then it was going to be 5 episodes. And then it was going to be 20 episodes. And you're like, this is too much.
It kept growing and growing.
Not everyone is there. Some of you are already, who listen, are already best-selling authors. You're already very successful. And learning how to do those first few years, if we spent the next half a year of the podcast doing that, you would unsubscribe, and we like you. We want you to stick around.
That's right.
And so what we've done is we're going to, in this episode, kind of give an overview. So for those of you who don't get the course, you at least can get the big picture. But for those of you who do want to go deeper, we've created a special course for you to go with and to go through. And the name of the course is The 5-Year Plan to Becoming a Best-Selling Author.
And Thomas joked that it's our 5-year plan to becoming an overnight success.
That's right. Overnight successes are long in the making.
That's right.
And it's easy. You know, the metaphor we keep using is climbing a mountain. And, you know, that very last step that takes you to this summit, everyone wants to focus on that last step. And what they often don't look at are all of these steps leading up to it that make you a success. And so ultimately there's that final, pulling of the trigger that makes you a best-selling author, but it takes a lot of preparation to get there. And as authors get discouraged, that's where they give up and they take shortcuts that shortchange their success.
Yeah, we have found author after author who wants to jump in the helicopter. They're halfway up the mountain or at the base of the mountain. They go, there's a helicopter and all I have to do is spend some money and I can go straight to the top of the mountain. And they can. I mean, you can get published right now today. There's thousands of, or at least hundreds of companies that will take your thousands of dollars and make you a published author.
We will get you on Amazon, guaranteed, and list you in all the bookstores.
Yes, and rank you high on Amazon. It's the reality is it's snake oil. It doesn't happen that way.
You can get printed and you can get published, but what takes a lot of work is to get sales and to have enduring sales. You're going to have mastered the fundamentals of writing, and that's actually what year one is all about. So in the first year, it's all about learning the fundamentals of writing, learning how to craft paragraphs that compel people to read the next paragraph, which compel people to read the next paragraph, and you've ruined it. If you do this right, you will ruin people's evenings. They will try to read your book for 30 minutes, and 2 hours later, they will be cursing you as they buy your second book.
Yes. The thing I love getting from readers is when they email me and go, Jim, I literally only stop reading your book to go to the bathroom. That's what you want to get. You want people that go, oh, God, I'm so tired the next day at work. And you can do that. And so we're going to focus on the fundamentals. We talk about John Wooden, who was the winningest college basketball coach of all time. And the thing he came back to again and again and again with his team was the fundamentals. So year one is going to be drilling down on those fundamentals.
In the second year, we're going to be talking about the discipline of writing. This is maybe the least sexy of the years. It is perhaps the most skipped of all of the years, and it is probably the most important of all of the years.
Yeah.
And this, we are going to be giving you a lot of instruction, but we're also going to be giving you a lot of encouragement and maybe some friendly kicks in the pants. Because the reality is that discipline is one of the big factors that separates good authors from bad authors. And the measurement in this year of success is, can you write and can you be productive on your bad days? So
if you can write on the days where you go, I can't write today, I can't do it today, I'm just gonna refresh today and then I'm gonna write tomorrow. If you can get yourself to write on those days, oh my gosh, you don't realize what a quantum leap your writing will take.
And some of this is simple principles, like deciding on things you're not going to do. What sacrifices are you willing to make to becoming a best-selling author? One of the easiest ones is just, cancel your Netflix subscription or watch less shows on Netflix. Get rid of your cable subscription. Cut some things out of your life that you're willing to sacrifice in order to become a best-selling author. And we have lots of other really practical tips on how to build that discipline. And we're not expecting you to come disciplined. We're coming expecting that you write when you feel like it, and you'll go weeks maybe between writing sessions because life gets in the way. And we'll be talking about here's how to do it with kids. Here's how to do it with a job. And, Jim basically worked on and off all the time. You're writing your books, right? Your rooms didn't happen when you were like in some cabin in the woods writing. Now,
some inspired moment.
Now my nonfiction book, this is focused on novels, but my nonfiction book, I did do that. I took some time off. I went into a cabin and wrote. That we're not assuming that you have the privilege or the ability to do that, and that you're going to have to write during real life. And that's where most bestsellers are born, is in that inferno, in that furnace, is where the carbon is forged and the steel is made into a beautiful, shining, magical sword.
But we will. Ooh, I love all our metaphors. But we will be with you. We will walk that path with you, because I did this path, right? Yeah. I was on the 10-year plan. I wish I had been on the 5-year plan. And that's what we want for you. Instead of it taking 10 years like most novelists take to hit the bestseller list, we want you to do it in 5.
In year 3, we talk about how to become an excellent writer. So if you think of the first year, learning the fundamentals as like track and field, in year 2 is going to the weight room and building those muscles and building that endurance. Year 3 is football practice. And I apologize for those of you who aren't into sports for the sports metaphors, but this is where we bring together the strength training and the aerobic training and actually give you those real world skills. And this is probably the second most skipped year. And as authors like, oh, I don't need to do this. Right. I'm already a good writer. And you may be a good writer, but here's the deal. No one wants to pay to read a good writer. There's a million good writers out there. There are only a handful of excellent writers.
Okay, Thomas, you use the sports analogy. I'll use those who enjoy cooking. So in years 1 and 2, we're going to teach you how to make good meals, solid meals, meals that your family goes, wow, this is really good. In year 3, we're going to teach you how to make meals that you could serve at a 5-star restaurant and actually get people to pay a lot of money for.
That's right. And a lot of the fundamentals are the same. You go to a fancy restaurant and you're like, this is what I could make, except there's these minor touches.
Yes.
A lot of it is in the presentation, the unnecessary, chocolate powder on top of the chocolate cake.
But it's also, how long do you cook it? Not too long, not too short. Don't let it sit under the warming lamp. I mean, it's the nuances, it's those subtleties that take it from, wow, this tasted really good, to, oh my gosh, I have to come back and have this meal again.
And this is where people, if they get discouraged, they're not willing to put in that final work to really get that polishing. Because it's like, this is good. This is better than it's ever been. This is better than my friends. This is better than the other people in my critique group. But the reality is there's only like 120 authors that make $1 million a year or more. And you have to be really good. That's 2 authors per state and an extra 10 authors for Texas and California. Or New York and California maybe. And that's not a lot.
No.
It's not a lot of people. And of the authors that make $100,000 a year more, that's maybe 2,000 or 3,000. It's still not a lot. And so you can't just be better than the 100. You have to be better than the 1,000. And that's what year 3 focuses on. It focuses a whole lot on craft. And you may notice we're not talking a lot about marketing.
Not
and you
at
know
all.
what? We're not. These first 3 years are not focused on marketing. We're doing some things that will be laying the foundation for marketing. We'll talk about those in the years, but for the most part, we're giving you permission and even encouraging you to not focus on marketing and to really focus on your craft, because come year 4 and year 5, you're going to need that foundation.
That's right.
So when you're building a house, the foundation often takes the longest to build. I remember being in university and they were building a new apartment complex that our school was building. So every day on my way to class, I'd see them working. And for the first 6 months, all they were doing was digging a hole in the ground. And like, you are going the wrong way. It's like you're supposed to be building up, not down. And I tell you, once they got that concrete poured into the foundation and that foundation was done, the actual apartment was built in like 5 or 6 weeks.
Wow.
They threw up the framing, and it was really fast. It took a while for some finishing, but they went from basically concrete on the ground to this beautiful, what looked to be a finished apartment very quickly. And you'll notice in construction that tends to be how it happens, because actually drilling, wooden 2x4s into each other goes really fast, and you can have a lot of people doing it at the same time. But man, that foundation, that's what takes time, and that's what year 3 is all about. It's that final finishing touches on the foundation.
I think we're going with, is this our 5th metaphor? I love it.
There'll be a lot of metaphors in the course.
Yes, there will be. We like to speak in metaphors. Year 4, here is the year where you become an industry insider. And what we mean by that, I was in business for years before I jumped into the publishing world, and I realized, like any other industry, there is a language, there's a protocol, there's a way to do things and a way not to do things. And unless you understand that, you will be lost out at sea. And so we really, in year 4, give you the details of how to get comfortable, how to understand how to approach editors, agents, authors, publishers, the whole 9 yards. And this is a year where you'll come out going, oh my gosh, I really understand what I'm doing here and why I'm taking every action I take.
And another thing we're doing in year 4 is we're beginning to start that marketing. This is where you'll start to work on the website. This is where you'll start to work on your branding. And some of you are maybe like, oh, but I'm going indie, I don't need to do this. And like, well, if you want to become a best-selling author, the best path is to be a hybrid author, where you're both indie and traditionally published. It's very difficult to become a best-selling author as an indie. And again, this isn't the only path. There's a lot of people who make a decent living as indie authors without ever hitting a bestseller list.
Yeah.
And they are very happy with the money that they make. And we're not judging those people. And you know what? I am one of those people. But that's not the path that we're laying out in this course. This course is the hard path of climbing the mountain. And it doesn't mean you can't go indie. In fact, you really should, because the margins are really good. And there are advantages and disadvantages to traditional publishing. There's advantages and disadvantages to indie publishing. And when you go hybrid, where you're both indie and traditional, you can have the advantages of both, where you get the credibility and the access to stores that you get with traditional publishing, and you get the margins with indie publishing. And that's all a part of year 4, where we talk about becoming an industry insider.
And we actually start talking about what you do at conferences during this year as well, how you approach them, what you do at them, how to pitch. We're going to be developing all that as well. So year 4 is definitely a busy year. I won't say it's as hard, actually, as 2 and 3, but it is definitely an intense year.
It has probably the most number of tasks.
Yes, there you go.
Years 1, 2, and 3 have really big tasks. Year 4 is the more smaller tasks. And we give you checklists and very specific. You get an audio with each quarter of each year. So each year has 4 or 5 audios that are a part of it, and then checklists for each quarter. So you'll know exactly what to do at that time.
Written description as well as that matches the audio, so you get both components.
So let's talk about year 5. Year 5 is the year I think we had the most fun doing, because it's the most of what you've already heard from us, and that is marketing and actually taking your book to market and getting it to be a best-selling book. These are our longest sessions. We've also bundled in dozens and dozens of curated novel marketing episodes. So when we talk about a topic, we'll have the episodes that hit that topic in addition.
Yeah, so you don't have to go and search for it or go, oh gosh, where was that episode? It'll be right there for you.
And for those of you listening in the future, when all of the back episodes aren't available. So right now you can listen to any of the novel marketing episodes, but that isn't always going to be the case. So after a while, only some of them will be available, and the oldest ones will not be available. So download them now. But you'll always have access to them through this course. And we have a lot of really practical advice. I had a lot of fun putting this year together. And some of you may get the course just for year 5, because it's basically everything you need to know about marketing your book in a 1-year plan. So if you feel like, and this is probably not you, because most people, you're not the exception, but if you feel like my writing is really good, the writing is solid, I just want to help.
Not solid, exceptional.
My writing is, thank you. My writing is excellent. I just need the marketing piece. You could skip to years 4 and 5, or just skip to year 5. You get the whole course all at once. So it's not like you have to wait the years to get there. Although, again, we would encourage you to go through years 1, 2, and 3, because those are the ones that make the difference.
Yeah. The other thing is you'll get some conference strategies, which will be separate files, how to approach conferences each year of this journey, starting in year 3, so 3, 4, and 5. And the other thing you'll get is a video I recorded a number of years ago on how to pitch your novel and specific ways to pitch, which is something you'll be using in year 4 and year 5. It's a how to pitch to editors and agents at writing conferences.
So we've thrown in some extras, the video and lots of encouragement, the strategies. We also have an introductory session for each year, and special NaNoWriMo strategies. We've bundled in. We tried to put in as much as possible, which I felt like we could do without overwhelming you, because we're stretching it across 5 years.
5 years.
So it's not like you have to do all of this each individual quarter. It's like, oh, this isn't so bad, but at the end of it, you're like, oh my gosh, I've learned so much.
That's right. So Thomas, let's talk a little bit about who the course is for, because some people are listening going, I'm not sure, maybe, so let's talk specifically about who this course will work for.
Yeah, if you're an author and you're feeling discouraged and you don't know how to get unstuck, this course is exactly for you. I would start at the very beginning and just work your way through it from the fundamentals and reestablish that foundation. It will be perhaps, if you've already been doing this for a while, it may be easier for you than somebody starting from scratch, but I think though that kind of author could really get a lot of value from this, to get undiscouraged.
Yeah, to use your apartment building metaphor, you might need to tear up that foundation and absolutely start from scratch and dig the hole again and lay that concrete down and start from that standpoint. Another person this is for the indie author who has been publishing novels but just is not seeing sales. Just the sales is they come in, but they've dribbled in instead of, oh my gosh, the spigot is open and it's really flowing strong. Yeah,
and for a lot of authors, kind of their knowledge of the industry is kind of like Swiss cheese. They're really strong in other areas,
good.
But they have holes in other areas, and they keep going to conferences, and it's like putting another layer of Swiss cheese on top of the Swiss cheese you already have. It's like not all the holes are filled in. This is like a solid block of yellow cheddar. It's
Metaphor
5 years.
Number 5.
Yeah, it's 5 years, but it will fill in all of the gaps, and that's another way to do this. Actually, this course, if you've been doing this for a while, is you just listen through and then you kind of zoom in on the stuff you haven't done before. It's like, ooh, that's a book I haven't read. You just read that book. If you have read a book, then you can skip that one and just kind of let it fill in the holes of the Swiss cheese, so to speak.
Another, if you're this type of person, this course is for you, and that's where you go, I've been doing indie for a while, but I want to be traditionally published. I really want to do that. That's a desire. That's a goal. It's something I've been dreaming of for years. I have a friend who said, yeah, I know I could publish this book indie, but I really want to be traditionally published. And there's a lot of good reasons to do that. So if that's you and you haven't been able to crack that, this course is the one that's going to help you do that.
And another type of author this is for is authors who are willing to work hard.
You keep coming back to that, Thomas.
So this goes with who the course is not for, and that is not for authors who are looking for a shortcut. This is the non-shortcut path. And a lot of people are very happy. They just want to see their book on the shelf.
Yeah.
And that's great. And they want to sell it to whoever, and maybe they'll get lucky, maybe they won't. And that's not who this course is for. You will be very frustrated. In fact, we have a 30-day money-back guarantee for you because you're going to start it. And you're like, after the first session, you're like, this is not for me. We'll refund your money. Now, for those of you who are willing to work hard, we actually have a special 5-year guarantee. Now, we can't do this through the credit card companies because they freak out with this. But if you go through the course and you do all of the things that we encourage you to do in the course and it doesn't work, we will write you a check to refund your money.
Yeah.
You let us know, and you say, I followed all of your instructions, I read all of the books, and it didn't work for me. We will refund the cost of the course because we're that confident that it will work. Because the reason people fail isn't because they don't have the skills. Skill is just practice, and it's practicing on the right things. And if you do the right things, what you reap, you will sow.
Yeah.
If you don't take the shortcuts, it's amazing how fast you can get there.
I was talking to Thomas's sister the other day, and she was telling me about this book she read called Grit. And to get the ultimate cliff notes about this book, essentially, most people think the way success works is talent plus grit plus talent equals success. The reality is it's grit plus talent plus grit that brings success. And so those who are willing to work hard, this will work for you.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the content of the course. The course is the roadmap. It is not all of the training. We are it's like in the Matrix. Here's metaphor number 6, where Morpheus is training Neo, but at some point he has to take Neo to the what's her name? The lady who has
the Oracle.
The Oracle, who has the additional information. This is how it is. So we will be introducing you to some of the best books on writing, some of the best books on marketing, because we are not the holders of all of the information.
Right.
And we got here because we read lots of books. I read 100 books a year. At least I read 100 books last year. I hit it right on the dot. Some years only like 90 or so.
Oh, only?
Yeah.
Wow.
And so I've read a lot of books on craft. I've read a lot of books on marketing, and and Jim has too, and we've selected the very best ones that we like that are helping you with very specific things. And so we'll be giving you drills and exercises based off of those books, but you'll be reading the books and you'll be learning from some of the very best gurus in the market.
And we'll be taking experiences that were our experiences, right? That we have gone through, that have worked for us, and applying them to you and showing how you can easily do the same thing.
Yeah, the Novel Marketing Plan to Becoming a Best-Selling Author, it's our first course that we created. In many ways, this is our fundraising episode. We've spent thousands of dollars on hosting and equipment, and not to mention all of the time putting out this podcast since 2013. And so far, the podcast has not really done anything to wash its own face. So the My Book Table ads, they'll help cover some of the hosting expenses, but hosting podcasts is not cheap. And when Jim had some computer trouble about a month ago, I was like, Jim, and it was interrupting the ability to record the podcast because his computer kept failing. I was like, we've got to get the podcast to help you get a new computer so we can do this more consistently. And so that in all honesty and transparency, that's why we're doing
that's the third reason, right?
So we were trying to figure out how much should we price this course, for 5 years. If it was 1 cup of coffee a week for 5 years, what would it cost? If we could price it at that, it'd be $1,300. And we were like, no, we're
not going to charge you $1,300 for
and so, we think that this will be helpful. This will help reduce your frustration.
So we encourage you, if you are the type of author that we described, to take this course. I wish, like I said earlier, I did the 10-year plan to becoming a best-selling author. I wish I had a course like this. I wish I could have cut that time in half. And if you've been frustrated, gosh, join us and cut your time in half.
You've been listening to this special edition of the Novel Marketing Podcast with best-selling author James L. Rubart and Thomas Umstattd Jr., hoping you'll join us in becoming an overnight success in just 5 short years. To sign up, go to novelmarketing.com and click on the big 5-year course button. It'll be right there on the website. You can also find this episode at novelmarketing.com/92 for episode 92. And as always, thank you so much for listening.
You've been listening to the Novel Marketing Podcast with Thomas Umstattd Jr. and James L. Rubart, giving you novel marketing ideas on how to promote yourself and your writing, online, offline, and everywhere in between. Thanks for listening.